Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared, and this is the SENCUT San Angelo in 9CR 18 MOV steel. Somewhat of a swooping handle that does actually make it way more comfortable and useful than I ever would have thought looking at it, because I did see the pictures of it. Now, SENCUT did send this to me. I'm not a fan of the JG10. I did not pick it. Now, I think the JG10 is awesome if you're planning on dyeing your scales, but if not, to me, I don't really like it unless if I'm going to dye it. Sometimes it looks cool when you have blacked out hardware and blade and liners, but on something like this, I think it's kind of ugly. So let's just get that off the table, but there are other choices. You have micarta choices and then other G10 options. Somewhat of a Nesmuk blade in a way. Maybe I shouldn't say Nesmuk, but it kind of reminds me of it. And, you know, because of the flipper tab, you know, the way it's angled, you do have a little spot right there to you know, put your finger, and utility cuts are going to be actually pretty good with this. Regular slicing is going to be great. Cutting straps and ropes, that's where it's going to be a little bit more uncomfortable. Could you do it? Yeah, but you don't have a great amount of leverage with this type of handle. But anything going forward or down is going to be amazing. Good access to the lock bar. They did protrude the jimping a little bit high right there, so it's really good access. Very, very smooth. The detent is extremely well tuned. Detent is well tuned enough for me to do the reverse flick without it also being too light on the flipper tab. The flipper tab snaps out every time with authority, especially if I try. And it's still easy enough for the reverse flick, but still super smooth. Deep carry clip that is reversible, not inset, but it does have flat screws. And when I say not inset, what I mean is the clip is not inset to the G10 where it's flush. You can see it protruding up just a little bit. You can technically slow roll it too if you really wanted to, if that's your thing. Sometimes I know I like to do that. The jimping, you know, it's kind of scooped down, so yeah, it is pretty comfortable back here, especially if I'm locked in behind the flipper tab. I will say, man, this thing is nice and comfortable. It does seem like a solid EDC for, you know, a lot of different kinds of use. Like I said, as long as it's not pulling towards you, I think it's great. The detent is a little late. Yeah, it's a little late, but it's still easy to get past. It's not so late to where you're going to be bouncing around on the detent. You can position. And once you get used to it, you'll never hit it. So, stop pin is just a regular stop pin with a shoulder lockup. The lockup. Ooh, I like how the lock bar pulls in. Pulls right in place. Rock solid lockup. They usually do a good job with their lockup. Lots of heavy milling. This is extremely lightweight. So yeah, it's pretty simple, very simple design, but well executed. You know, SENCUT does a good job. You know, Civivi, and then Civivi, then SENCUT. You know, the little details are there. Nice big hardware all the way around, except for the clip. You know, I think that's awesome because you're not going to have to worry about stripping it out as easily as if it was T6s all the way around. So they have good quality hardware too. So it's not just about the size of the hardware. They have good quality hardware. This is going to work out great for lefties as well. So right-handed or left-handed. You know, the G10 is well done, nice and grippy, and it's not a inset liners or anything, but this is a very affordable knife. You know, the person that would be buying this is going to use it as a tool, and you got a good steel, a decent steel. The steel is a 9CR 18 MOV steel. It's very easy to sharpen. Strops back really good. Very responsive to a strop. Takes a really good edge. Personally, I would keep it around a medium grit edge because it's not... You know what? It's going to be very similar to 440C. 9CR and 440C are very, very similar. So if you are used to sharpening 440C, you're basically going to sharpen it the same way, which 440C is a great steel. I actually don't think it gets enough as much love as it probably should. It is a good quality steel as long as it's for an affordable price. Now, personally, me, something like this specifically, I would go probably 17, 18 degrees per side with my angle, and then I would go to 600 grit. 600 grit specifically because I think that's probably the best medium grit edge to be fine enough for the finer tasks, yet toothy enough for the toothy tasks. It's a great medium range edge to where it's going to be very versatile, easy to maintain. It's going to hold a lot of bite, and for 9CR, I think 600 grit is going to hold a great amount of bite for the longest time. I think if you go finer than that, if you go over 1,000, 1,200 grit, I think your bite might fall off a little faster, or quite a bit faster, than at 600 grit. And if you polished it, it's definitely going to, after you polish it and you start using it, it'll start slickening up. And what'll happen is it won't have that bite that you need to initiate the cut. So when you go to begin a cut, your edge starts it off. Your edge is what enters the blade into the material, and having that bite to catch it, so it doesn't just slip off. If you've ever tried to cut a strap backwards and the strap just slips up and around the edge, that's because the edge doesn't have enough bite, or maybe the geometry, but similar to that, but with cutting just about anything. You'd hate to be going to cut something and your edge just slips off. You want your edge to bite into it so that it can begin entering into the material and cutting, all the way through. Then the geometry of the blade takes over. But let me check the thickness behind the edge really quick, and then, yeah, so it feels relatively thin, to be honest. It's 15 thousandths on the dot. Oh, was. Right around 15 thousandths. I'll move around just a little bit. It's hard to do this on camera. That's why I never do it. But, yeah, it's pretty thin behind the edge. Now, that's with their edge angle on it. And granted, their edge angles are always high. So, after you put your own edge on it, if you put between 17 and 20 degree edge on it, I would say put 20 degrees if you want a little tougher edge. If you want a little slicier edge, a little sharper, a little slicier, go with 17. It's probably going to thicken up to about 15, 16, 17 thousandths behind the edge, So, still going to be nice and thin, good geometry. The tip is a tip that's it's going to work great for utility cuts. And the way how it angles, it makes it comfortable to do that. You have this little arch right there that kind of nestles right in your hand. For like right now, I could stab this into the table and I'm really not going to slip up the blade because it's kind of blocked by my palm in a way. So that's going to give you a lot of leverage, cutting ropes or anything like that downward. The one thing I don't like, though, is this choil. I'm not a fan of the choil. Now, I know in order for this blade shape and the flipper, it kind of made it work. It'd be so nice if it just had a... Focus. If the plunge grind started here and ended really quick so that you had the ability to see where the plunge grind ends. You just see it taper away. It just kind of fades away. So I'm going to guess it's right at the edge. So when you sharpen this, be prepared for a smile. That's the one thing. Be prepared for a smile. Now, the stop pin's all the way up there, so you can always cut in your own choil if you really wanted it. If it doesn't bother you, then you could just leave it. But if you did want to kind of carve this out a little bit and make a bigger finger choil for you, which would probably be pretty comfortable, you could do it without an issue. It very easily with a Dremel. I've done videos on it. Now, the one negative to it is if you're in this grip and you're not choked up, because your finger could block it if you're choked up, but if you're back here and you want to do repeat cutting where you continuously cut cardboard, the choil could catch, right? Of course, and that's why we put our fingers in the way and let the material go past our fingers. But, if you're going to hold it back here, then when you sharpen it, you can basically allow the materials just to slide into the edge, which is cool. There's a few knives I have that don't have sharpening probes, and it works great like that. I love it. But that's why I personally prefer, if you're going to do that, do a plunge grind that starts and then just drops straight down. Like not where it tapers, just where it goes from the thickest point straight down. Similar to like what you would see on like a Spyderco. Spyderco does that exact thing, where the edge just goes all the way up to the wall of the thickest point of the edge. But anyways, there you guys go. I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.